That's right. I made it. How you doing today, Jim?
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad you're on the mend.
Excellent. Yes, that was a rough patch right there. I'm not sure what happened, but I mean, I got something, so I didn't really pay attention to it, and I think it got worse and worse, and until I got to the doctor, and they prescribed a whole bunch of pills, and I'm back.
Yeah. Well, if this keeps up, you're going to have to move back to Florida.
I don't. Yeah, right. If I had to, if I had to leave the house every single day, then I would say, yeah, maybe I caught something, outside or the cold or the weather. But most of the time I'm here at home Monday through Friday, so it's like I don't go out that much.
Yeah, sounds like you got it through email.
Maybe it was email, yeah, one of those viruses, who knows? That I would believe, of course. So how are things in the side of your world?
Oh, good. I'm real busy because I'm trying to move to Florida. So we're doing a lot of packing and getting rid of stuff. So,
I
I'm
heard.
in
So
California right now.
when do you foresee being in Florida?
What's that?
When do you foresee being in Florida?
January.
Okay, that's a perfect month to be in Florida.
Yep, yep. So we're packing up and getting ready for the big moving truck to
Yeah.
come.
Although California doesn't really have a winter per se, right? It gets pretty chilly, but not snow, right?
You talking about California?
Yeah,
Yeah,
California.
yeah. No, the weather's perfect here. I mean, it is the golden state for weather. It's just now the poo-poo state for everything else.
Oh my God.
Essentially, the politicians have no way of screwing up the weather yet.
Oh my God.
So everything's good with the weather, but that's about it.
Well, Texas, and Florida don't seem to rank very well, as the best states to live in, right?
Well, they got yeah, I mean, as far as weather goes, as
But
far as weather,
weather, I think,
but
is the only
everything
thing
else, no,
that,
they're
yeah.
good. They're really good. Texas and Florida are the two states that are getting the most people moving to them.
Oh,
So
yes.
Texas is the number two populated state now in the United States, and Florida's no, wait a second. Is it, yeah, number two, and Florida's number
Inter-
three in the United States population.
Wow.
And
So,
so
yeah.
it took over New York's spot, which was number three. So now New York's number four because a bunch of New Yorkers moved to Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, things are changing. And actually, Texas in 10 years, if the demographics keep going, 10 years from now, Texas will be the most populous state.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Maybe they'll make it they'll make it nicer and easier to live here.
Yep, yep.
Tax,
Well, you're
tax,
gonna have a lot of good restaurants.
yeah, for sure. Yes, exactly. All right. So, after this whole mess with my throat and the cold, I didn't really plan really well the master class. And just to let you guys know what's going on with master class, I think you've heard that we're moving over to trade station. So eventually there's not going to be you can trade any longer, and everything is going to be moved over. So the first step in us doing that is turning masterclass into a what's called a webinar series. We're going to be sending an announcement very, very soon. So rather than being a channel like it is right here on You Can Trade, we're going to be expecting people to register for masterclass sessions. So that's probably starting, the week after Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, we're going to take a big break. I think everybody is pretty much, in the Thanksgiving mindset. So we are going to cancel classes for the week of Thanksgiving. So that's something that I wanted to announce as well. We're going to send a coach alert on that too. So there's several things going on in the background. I mean, we've been working really hard to, make the transition as easy as possible. One of those things is probably, well, we have stopped billing on the masterclass. So if anybody here has been billed recently, let me know, because one of the things that we're doing is just making educational content free for everyone. So let me know about that, okay? So let me go ahead and open up the floor here for Q&A if anybody has any questions of what's going on. I thought that we would do maybe some exercises on Radarscreen studies and some Easylanguage, but does anybody have any questions before I get started?
I guess one question.
Yes.
So, now that master class is free, is it really kind of turning into more of a getting started since it's going to be open to everybody, or what can we expect with regards to, more of the advanced topics?
The mindset, the strategy, the business strategy that is being worked on at the moment is trying to target a more active trader. So we are going to continue, elevating the content inside of the master class. We're going to do a lot of the same things we've been doing inside of the master class, which is technical analysis, easy language programming, and strategy trading. But we want to be able to cater to the active traders. That's the main goal at TradeStation. So to answer your question, yes, we're in that mentality of creating content that provides additional value to somebody that's already an active trader.
Oh, that's really good, because that's kind of the strength of what I've been getting out of these classes.
Right.
That's good.
A lot of the platform content that I was doing as well will be created as on-demand videos, so that anybody who wants to learn about the tool or the functionality can watch a video and not have to come to a master class on, technology. So we're going to focus more on, ideas, on strategies, on technical indicators, easy language programming. So we're going to try to do a little bit more of that. The frequency will not be as it was in the past. We're probably not going to be there every single day, but we're going to try to focus our efforts on providing a little bit more useful tools inside of the masterclass.
What's going to happen with all the content, all these archive videos on You Can Trade? Is that moving over?
We are moving some of it, not all of it, but we are keeping a library of the archives, so that if anybody asks, we have a Vimeo link that we can share with all the archives, because I know some of those videos still provide a lot of value. So they will still be available, not on tradestation.com though, but it'll be a separate link that I can share with you.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome. Very welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go through some of the disclosures very quickly. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. For additional information on these disclosures, please visit our website. The link is right there, www.tradestation.com/important-information. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to my TradeStation platform. All right, I'm going to enter my password. Okay, so this is my platform. It is a red day for the markets today. We're down 177 points on the Dow. It was worse earlier today. I checked that it was down over 200 points, so it's kind of coming back to us. Let's go ahead and open up Radarscreen, which is the topic of today's conversation, and talk about some studies here. All right. Let me add a list of symbols. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the way that some of the studies in Radarscreen look like. Let me go ahead and add a study here to my Radarscreen to tell you exactly what I mean by that. Let me do a moving average 2-line. All right, so it showed up right here on the left-hand side. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I can click on the header of any column that I add to my Radarscreen. So that right now you can see that it's highlighted, and I can click on it again and drag it to a different location. So sometimes that makes it very easy for you to click and drag columns and organize them. I don't need the bid, ask, high, and low, so I'm going to highlight those 4 columns all together, and then I'm going to press the delete key on the keyboard. So that's a very easy way for you to get rid of columns you don't need. I'm going to resize my Radarscreen. I'm going to open up a chart analysis and put it right here to the right-hand side of my Radarscreen. And I'm going to add the same study that I have right there. Moving average 2 lines. Okay, so here we are. So we have the indicator instead of Radarscreen. We have the indicator right here on the chart. Let me go ahead and link these 2 windows together so that if I click on any of these symbols, it gets loaded right here on the screen. All right. The indicator that I just added right here to Radarscreen is not very telling. For example, I do see the value of the fast average and the slow average. The fast is 148.74 and the slow is 148.59. But those are the values that I see here on the edge of my chart. Now this chart is daily, of course, that's why the values don't match. So let me go ahead and change the symbols here to daily so that we have matching values. Okay, so the fast is 145, the slow is 146, and we can see that happening here on the chart. But by looking at the chart, let me also turn on my webcam, by the way. By looking at the chart, you get a sense of what's happening to those moving averages. For example, you know that the slow is the magenta line and the fast is the cyan line. And you can tell because the cyan, it's closer to the candlesticks. It's more sensitive to the price movements. So by looking at this chart, you know that the fast average is below the slow, which is more like a bearish mode, but notice how the fast average is quickly approaching the slow average. So we have this little spike on that cyan line. So even though we are on a bearish mode, meaning that the fast is below the slow, we're quickly approaching a stage where we may be in a bullish mode, at least for this symbol, which is Apple. This big bar, this big candle right here, today's candle on Apple is a big up candle. So that's pushing that fast moving average closer to the slow. Now that's all information that's great and very visible here on the chart, but here in Radarscreen, not so much. I get this 145 and this 146, and I'm left, trying to figure out what does that mean instead of my Radarscreen. Unless I turn on an alert inside of Radarscreen, those values really don't mean anything to me. They don't really tell me anything unless, I have a chart along with it so that I can visualize what the 2 lines are doing. So the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, what type of mode are my moving averages on? Are they bearish or are they bullish? For example, I did start the conversation today saying, we're in a down market today because the Dow is down 175 points. We said that at the very beginning, but notice how interesting that Apple, even though the whole market based on the Dow Jones is down, Apple is up, or at least barely up, 0.34%, but it is up. And and a few stocks inside of the Dow are up. The majority are down, and that's why the index, we have a down value. But some things like that, allow you to identify certain stocks of what mode are they in. Are they in the bullish or a bearish mode? So let's go ahead and take a look at what we can do to this indicator to make it a little bit more telling. For example, first thing, how do I know if the fast is over the slow? I can do that by coloring the background, and that's something that I'm going to do here on this indicator. But before I do, let me go ahead and open up my development environment. And just to let you a little bit more on the idea, I want to color the background red if we are in a bearish mode, meaning that the fast is below the slow. And I want to paint the background green if we are in a bullish mode, meaning that the fast is above the slow. So here's well, this is not the indicator that I want. So first of all, let me go here into the open Easylanguage document, because I want to remove some of the indicators that I've created on moving average cross. These are strategies. Let me go here to indicators, because I may have a few, like for example, here and here. Let me remove these two. I'm gonna delete those two, so there's no confusion. Sometimes I like to clean some of these exercises that I create. These are different ideas that we've worked on during class, but if I have too many of the same thing, then it just becomes confusing. So I'm gonna start a new, actually, instead of starting from scratch, let's open up the default moving average two-line study that we have on the chart. So let me go here. Let me scroll to the M's. This is the one that we're using. Let me open that one up. All right. Here's my code. Let me make the font a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to Tools, Options, make it a 14. Okay, that's easier to read, at least on your side. And I'm going to save this as a different indicator. I'm going to go to File, Save As. And we do the Save As. If you've been here for some time, we do this to make sure that we don't mess up the original. I'm going to call this exclamation JN, which is the prefix that I use for all my studies. JN are the initials of my name. Moving average 2 lines, and I'm just going to add another 2 letters at the very end, RS, because I'm creating this with Radarscreen in mind. I'm going to click OK. All right, so since now this is my code, I can start deleting some stuff that I don't really use. For example, I don't use none of these tooltips information. So let me remove this information that it's inside of square brackets, from square bracket to square bracket. You know that I do that a lot on my code just to simplify the code. These tooltips, they show up when you format the indicator and you hover over the input. It tells you what the input does. But I don't really need it for this. I need the fast price, slow price, fast length, slow length. I'm just turning those into one line. I generally don't use displays, so I can remove that. That's just an input. And now, since I just removed this place as an input, let me go ahead and remove this place here. I'll remove this place, this place, this place. All right. This is the alert criteria. I'll leave that on. Maybe I need to verify it. And this right here, I'm going to remove too, because this is this also references this place. So let's remove that. I don't think we need it. So I just need the clean plot statements. We'll leave the alert criteria in there. Let me remove this at the very end. I probably don't need this end right here. I'm just cleaning the, I mean, I could have started from scratch, sometimes that's even better, but I'm just showing you the process that I go through in cleaning out the code so that it makes a little bit more sense to me. Okay, so if alert enabled, let's remove this display reference. And okay, so now we're on square one. So we have inputs, variables. Let me put those in one line so I can add more space to my code. Okay, verify. All right, so first thing we do is we're going to do some syntax colorings based on where the moving averages are. So I'm going to come here and I can create a label just as we have alert criteria. I mean, sometimes that helps you know what piece of code, what does it do? Color criteria. And these are French or squiggly brackets that allow you to annotate your code. So color criteria inside of those French brackets is just an annotation, and Easylanguage doesn't read it. And my color criteria is going to be if fast AVG is greater than slow AVG, then set plot BG color. This is an interesting reserved word inside of Easylanguage. If you're first connecting with me in Easylanguage, the set plot BG color is reserved to the language, and I know that because it turns blue. Any word that turns blue means that it's reserved, and it has a particular meaning inside of programming. Right here, it does exactly what the word says. It's going to set the background color to a specific color, whatever color you specify here. So that's what set plot BG color stands for. And it's something that only works inside of Radarscreen because it sets the background color inside the cell. So don't think that because we say background, that it also works with the chart. It'd be great if it worked with the chart. I would hope that eventually our engineers create some words that can change the background of the chart programmatically. It'd be very cool to have, if you have a workspace with 6 or 12 different chart analysis windows, that these windows can change color background, right? That would be very cool. But here, background refers to the background of the cell inside of Radarscreen. Whenever I think that I'm doing better, I start speaking and this happens. I start losing my voice. So let me just show you a couple quick things here. And but I wanted to make sure that I connected with you in this masterclass. Okay. So set plot BG color. I'm going to open up the parentheses and I have to tell which one of the plots I want to apply this to. So this is going to be plot 1. And this is going to be fast is greater than slow, bullish. So we're going to do dark blue. Dark blue is one of the colors that Easylanguage understands. Notice how it turns blue and it knows exactly what color to use. Okay, I'm going to put a begin here right after this end. I mean, right after this then, because I want to take multiple actions. Not only do I want to change the color of plot 1 to dark blue, but I also want to change the color of plot 2 to dark blue. So I'm going to use set plot color again, but this time I'm going to reference plot number 2, and I'm going to make it dark blue also. And because I have a begin, else, I'm going to copy these 2 lines and say, instead of dark blue, dark red. And we need, I believe we need a begin here, another begin, and another end. Let's see if this verifies. And it sure does. Okay, let me copy this piece of code right here inside the chat so you guys have it. I'm not sure if you can copy it and copy from the chat, but that's the code that I used. Let's see how that looks inside of my radar screen. Maybe I should have checked how it looks inside of my radar screen before sharing it with you. So this indicator, I don't need it anymore. I've created my own. So let's go ahead and add it. I started it with an exclamation JN. So this is moving averages. Here it is. Moving average 2 lines RS. I'm going to add it and move it down. There we go. So now I'm able to tell which ones are bearish and which ones are bullish. And this is very interesting. I would have thought that the majority would be bearish considering the market being down. But then remember that the moving averages calculate based on historical data. And in the past few days or several days, we've had a significant upswing. So that explains what maybe the moving averages, since it's a lagging indicator, are still showing a bullish mode. So maybe we need a little bit more information as to how bullish are they or how bearish are they, right? So let's go ahead and click on one that is bullish, for example. Here we have Cisco that is bullish. And yeah, we can see that it's bullish. Almost, considering how Cisco has traded in the past several days, it almost went bearish. But if you look very closely, those two lines never crossed. They're really close to each other, but barely crossed. So in this particular case, when the moving averages are getting closer to each other, it's probably a signal that there hasn't been significant movement and the market is moving kind of sideways. So the proximity of those two moving averages is something that I want to measure, or something that I want to keep in mind. Notice that whenever there is a big price hike, usually the moving averages move apart. And the wider they are, the bigger the movement that preceded it. So it's an interesting concept. So maybe in this area where we're seeing the moving averages getting together, are they about to turn bullish or bearish? We had a little bit of an uptick on today's trading activity here for Cisco. It kind of started trading where it was trading back here. This was, November 3rd, talking about almost a 2-week span. But is it enough for the uptrend to continue? Or will this moving averages cross to the bottom side and provide us a bearish signal? So that proximity maybe is something that I want to analyze as well. So maybe I'm thinking about adding a column that gives me the difference. Let's take a look. I'm going to come over here to my code. I'm going to add a plot 3. And let's just do a straight math here. I'm going to do fast AVG minus slow AVG. These are, remember, even though I'm using words, the words here are variables that are storing a number. So when I do fast average minus low average, it's a number minus a number. So it's a numeric expression. I'm going to call this AVG diff. Verify. So let me go back here to my trade station. Now, I want you guys to look, as soon as I added that plot, it automatically provided me this column. How cool is that, that any changes that I make to the Easylanguage code are automatically applied to my indicator? I think that's very valuable. Now, the value here that is being returned is sometimes negative and sometimes positive. Maybe I'm not so much interested in positive or negative. I know that the ones that are bearish are going to have a negative value. Notice that all the ones that have a red background have a negative value because the fast average is below the slow average. So you get a negative number. But that's not interesting in this calculation because what I'm measuring is proximity. So if I come back here to the code, I want to turn that into just an absolute value. And I can do that, I believe, by adding parentheses around the mathematical formula and just, I thought it was app val. There we go, apps value. I think that's the word. Let me right click. If it turns blue, remember, it's something that is reserved. So any blue word that you see in Easylanguage, I can right click on and go to definition. Let's go to the definition of absolute value. And it opens documentation on that particular word. So absolute value returns the absolute value of num. So in the expression, the absolute value, parentheses num, if the number is a negative, it turns that into a positive. If it's a positive, it returns the same positive. It just gives you the absolute value. So let me go ahead and verify this and go back to my code. So now you can see that all the values, regardless of where the moving average is, returns a positive number. Now, the numbers don't really mean anything at this moment because the fact that, for example, Boeing, there's a difference of $13. Let me go here to Boeing. Yeah, the separation is kind of significant. But remember that the difference is also based on the value of the security. So for CAT, we also see a big separation between the two, but CAT, it's more expensive than what Boeing is. Let's take a look at another example here. For example, Goldman Sachs has a big separation. Yeah, take a look at the separation of Goldman Sachs. It's not as dramatic as the one as for Boeing. You see, Boeing, they seem to be separating more. If you look at the visual aspect of the moving averages, just looking at them visually, they seem like they're separating more. So Boeing compared to Goldman Sachs. But notice how the value here for Goldman Sachs is 15, whereas the value for Boeing is 13. So we cannot really make a fair comparison because every stock is priced differently. Now, if we grab that value and we compare it to the value of the stock and turn it into a percentage, we know what the separation is in terms of percentage of the value of the stock. So let me come back here to my code and say, all right, I'm plotting the absolute value of fast average minus slow average. But I want to take this whole thing, absolute value, and then add another parenthesis here at the very end. And I'm going to divide that into the close. Close is just the last traded price of the security. Let me verify this. Let me go back to the code. And here it is. Now I'm looking at percentages. And the format here, of course, is a decimal, so I really don't like it. You can do a couple of things to turn that into a percentage view. You can take this expression and multiply it by 100. So I've seen that many times in code where you take this whole thing, add parentheses, and then multiply it by 100. That gives you, a number. Let me see what that looks like. There we go. See the percentages? Now I can rank by this value and see the one that has the widest separation based on percentage, which is Boeing. We were just looking at that. Interesting that, Boeing is number one, Goldman Sachs is number 4. So based on percentage, there's a bigger separation between the moving averages for Boeing, whatever that means. I'm just throwing an idea there, but I just added a column that provides me a value that tells me how separated those moving averages are. So that's one way of expressing percentages. Now let me go back here to the code, and I'm going to do Control Z to undo the 3 changes that I made. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but you can do Control Z multiple times, and your code will undo anything that you have written, up to 100 historical edits, which is pretty cool. So if you find yourself making edits and you broke something, you can do Control Z multiple times to backtrack all the changes you've made. I find that to be very useful. The undo is something that I don't have on TradeStation. Sometimes on TradeStation, I do something that I wish we had an undo. For example, sometimes I remove a study and I didn't mean to do it, and I want to have an undo so that it comes back, but it doesn't have that in TradeStation. So here, the other way that I can turn that into a percentage is by going into, let me see, first of all, yeah, you see we're back on a decimal format. So here on the code, the other way is to go to properties, go to grid style, and the average difference, you can turn it into a percentage. And you can say, yeah, give me 2 decimal places on that percentage. I'm going to click OK and verify. The only problem of doing it this way is that if I come back to my TradeStation, the changes are not applied yet. So I do have to remove the indicator and add it again, because anytime you make changes to those properties, they're not reflected on the indicator automatically. You have to come back and add the indicator one more time. So I'm going to add it and move it down and then click OK. And now you can see percentages. Not only you see percentages, but it has the percentage symbol that sometimes it's a little bit more clear what the value is. So you can see that again, Boeing is at the very top. And if I double click again, I look at the ones that are closest, and Cisco is one that we were looking just a moment ago. And we saw that closeness between the fast average and the slow average. So just an interesting idea, something to look at. I mean, I can apply a gradient to that percentage just to enhance my visual, but that's something you can do to every indicator that is part of the TradeStation platform. Adding, first of all, information that is not provided by default on the indicator. I think the way that moving average 2 lines comes for Radarscreen, it doesn't provide you, it's not very helpful unless you turn on an alert. But now I've added some code that colors the background, whether the moving averages are in a bearish or a bullish mode. And I've also added a calculation that measures the proximity between those moving averages, how far away they are. So we can see that clear right here on the screen. Any questions on this information? Or any questions in general? I've given you all the ability to turn on microphones if you wish to do that, or you can send me questions right here in the chat. I hope that my voice turns better tomorrow. We're going to do Ask the Experts at 11:30, and we have a class at 12:30 on OCO and OSOs. So if you have any questions on OCOs and OSOs, or if you're trying to enter a particular type of order, join me tomorrow and we'll talk about it and we'll demonstrate different features right here inside of the masterclass, all right? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your support of the TradeStation Masterclass. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.